Most elephant hunts have 4 phases: locating elephants, the approach, selecting the animal, and taking the shot. Elephants are usually located by tracking or glassing. Tracking elephants is one of the most traditional and interesting of all African hunts, and it's pure magic to watch the African trackers do their work. Despite their great weight, elephants are actually more difficult to track than buffalo because their feet have pads rather than hooves. So elephant tracking is advanced tracking that only the most skilled trackers can do well. It starts with a search for fresh tracks, which can mean days of covering ground, usually done by a combination of driving and walking. Fresh tracks will often be found crossing a road or track, and water sources are often critical. It may take a short time on the track, but by examining tracks, dung, and signs of feeding, African trackers can determine the age of tracks. This is critical information, but it depends on the time of day. Early in the morning, it's perfectly acceptable to follow tracks made during the night, even 12 hours earlier. An elephant hunt always starts with finding a good track. We've got a good one here. He's worn in the back. It's fresh. It's from this morning. It's about 7 o'clock right now. Just the perfect time to find an elephant track. Ivan's going to measure it, but we don't really need to measure this track. We know that this is an older bull because he's worn, and this is one we're going to follow. Elephants can cover many miles in a day, but usually alternately feed and rest during the night. In the early morning, they'll usually start to move toward heavy cover, where they'll rest through the heat of the day. Knowledge of the area is thus important to evaluating the feasibility of following tracks. But an elephant will go where it goes, so one never knows at the outset where and how far a track might lead. Age of a track is thus extremely critical in evaluating whether or not to follow, but so is the track itself. Since mature bulls are nearly twice the size of cows, it's very easy to determine bull tracks. Size of elephants vary regionally, so you're looking for a large track for the area you're hunting. There are also indicators of age that fine soil will offer, such as depth of corrugations and sole wear.
You see no smoothness on the track.
No, none whatsoever.
None whatsoever. And if you look here, if you look at the big calluses, you can see there's no smoothness.
No smoothness, none whatsoever.
So the baby skin is disappearing and is getting more mature, and then the calluses get even bigger and bigger and bigger. And it just shows you that size of the body, and if you follow a track like that, probably you'll end up with a mature bull. So the moment there's any smoothness, you just walk away from it. It's going to take you for a long walk.
None of these indicators say anything about size of tusks. The only way to determine size of tusks is track up the elephant and take a look. In more open or hilly country, elephants are often spotted simply by glassing. This is common in Namibia, it's common in Botswana, and it's also common in hilly country in Zimbabwe. If elephants are spotted at a distance, then you may have to circle the wind, or you may be able to make a direct approach, but the approach begins once elephants are spotted. The elephant hunt really starts almost at the end of the track. This may mean the sign is very fresh. Experienced PHs and trackers develop almost a sixth sense as to when elephants are near. Because of timing and the elephant's habit of seeking thick cover at midday, auditory clues are actually the most likely. A stick breaking as elephants feed. A trumpet from a paranoid cow. The soft belly rumbling of undisturbed elephants, or the much softer swishing sound of the great ears fanning. Following tracks is fairly straightforward, although if the wind is unfavorable, experienced trackers will often deliberately leave the tracks and try to circle the wind. But now, with elephants nearby, it's absolutely essential to get the wind right. Most trackers carry ash bags, cloth sacks filled with fine ash that, when shaken, will show wind direction. This is usually the time to load the chamber of your rifle. Don't hesitate to ask your PH if you should load up, but make sure your safety is engaged and pay close attention to keeping your muzzle in a safe direction. From this point, movement will be much slower and has to be as quiet as possible. Depending on the cover, you may be able to walk upright or you may need to crouch, crawling or butt scooting as possible, but rare with elephants. Follow your PH's lead and concentrate on stepping as quietly as possible.